In Micah chapter 6, verse 8, God has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does God require of you? To do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly."
Martin Luther King Jr. also said that true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice.
And Pope Paul VI said, "If you want peace, work for justice." As a coalition of people of faith, we were founded to live out God's call to bring justice to our community. We are a group of over 40 congregations of all different faiths throughout Pinellas County that work together to fix the root causes of injustice. The justice we fight for, it takes many forms. It takes the form of housing for those who can't afford it, affordable pre-K for low-income children, programs that help children instead of branding them for life with arrest records, and mental health care instead of handcuffs for the most vulnerable in our county.
The killing of George Floyd reminds us that there is another important form of injustice we must fight. There is systemic racial injustice that tears at the moral fabric of our community. We at FAST stand in solidarity with all who seek equality and justice for all people who are created in the image of God without regard for the color of their skin. For the past 2 years, we've been working to address racial profiling in our community. This work began in the fall of 2018 when we held over 100 small group listening sessions and heard stories from people of color who had been pulled over for minor reasons or no reason at all. Others had not been pulled over but expressed their fear at what might happen if they were.
Through our research, we learned that the three largest law enforcement agencies in Pinellas County, which are St. Pete Police, Clearwater Police, and the Sheriff's Department, all had ways for people to report experiences with profiling. Yet, when we asked, none of these departments had received any complaints of profiling within the last year. We realized that either people did not know they could make complaints, or didn't believe the complaints would do anything, or too fearful to speak up. So we created a solution. We created law enforcement interaction cards so that our community members could anonymously report interactions with the police. These interaction cards were turned in to FAST, and we then turned them into the appropriate agency. In the spring of 2019, Sheriff Gualtieri, Chief Holloway of St. Pete, and Chief Slaughter of Clearwater came to a FAST assembly and committed in front of 400 people to investigate any interaction cards turned into FAST and report back to us the results of the investigations. In following up on this commitment in the last year, we realized we needed to clarify what type of investigation we were asking for. Not only do we want the investigation to determine whether the actions of the officer were legal, we also wanted to include a review of whether or not that specific officer has a pattern of discrimination. It is legal, for example, for an officer to pull someone over for a broken tail light. But if that specific officer is only pulling over people of color for broken tail lights and not white people, that's a problem.
Now, this year we weren't able to have an in-person Nehemiah action to ask law enforcement leaders to agree to this type of investigation. So instead, we sent them a letter asking for their written signed commitment. We are excited to announce that both Chief Holloway and Chief Slaughter have committed in writing to review an officer's track record of behavior if they are named in an interaction card. These commitments are showing up on the screen now. Please feel free to pause your video if you would like to read the whole thing. We applaud both Chief Slaughter and Chief Holloway for their commitments to take seriously and investigate complaints of racial profiling or any other negative interactions turned in through our interaction cards. We have not yet received a written response from Sheriff Galtieri. Most importantly, if you have been profiled or have had other interactions with law enforcement you would like to report, please fill out a law enforcement interaction card and turn it in to FAST. We believe the eradication of racial profiling is vital to a healthy community and take these concerns very seriously. We encourage everyone to keep a law enforcement interaction card on you or in your car so that you have it in case an incident occurs. Cards can be found to download and print from our website, whose address is listed on the screen.
The use and investigation of these cards is a positive step forward. And at the same time, we know there is much more work to be done. There is work to be done when African Americans in our country are almost 6 times more likely to be incarcerated than white people. There is work to do when people of color are more likely to be arrested, more likely to be convicted, and more likely to be given long prison sentences. There is work to do when over half of the out-of-school suspensions given in our county last year were given to Black students, yet they make up less than 20% of the student body. We will continue to fight against racism in whatever forms it presents itself. Even in light of all of these challenges, we have hope.
We have hope that together we can fix any injustice plaguing our brothers and sisters.
We have hope that God will work in us and through us to bring justice to those who are suffering.
We will not rest until all are treated equally.